man was given two basic responsibilities. One was priesthood, the other was kingship. In that essence. And the priesthood of man was the fact that man was to find a way to constantly maintain fellowship with the immortal spirit. So if you study the old tabernacle, or what I like to call the tabernacle of Moses, or the tent of meeting in the wilderness, you will find that it is stratified in such a way to describe the priest's office as designed by God. So in that old tabernacle, you had the outer court, you had the inner court, and you had the Holy of Holies. Now, in the outer court, it was ministry unto men. And sadly, this is where many Christians have been since they were born again. Outer court ministry. And if you have never carefully studied this phenomenon, you will not understand why even in those strata, the infrastructure in each of those strata were different. So for instance, in the outer court, you had the brazen altar and the brazen laver. At the brazen altar, that was where the priest sacrificed whatever the Lord said he had to sacrifice. That brazen altar was the place of blood. And when the priest wanted to perform that function, he will take off his attire, his priestly attire. He will be in his undergarment, and he will sacrifice the ram, sacrifice the bull, sacrifice whatever it is, whether it was a turtle dove. Blood will be spilled, it will be put on the altar, whether to be burnt or whatever, and then he will go to the brazen laver. It was a bowl full of water, and he will wash the blood off himself. Once he has washed that blood, he will now wear his priestly attire and enter into the inner court. In the outer court, which is called the ministry unto men, the priest, his audience were men. The system in the outer court is designed in such a way that the hand of God is not necessarily involved in the process. It's a process that is driven by the structure that already exists in the natural. So even the light in the outer court is from sunlight. It is the only area of the tabernacle that is not covered. So the priest sees with sunlight, he operates without his priestly garment, and his major ministry is to men. But you see, that is not what God actually designed. That outer court ministry became necessary because of the fall. Stay with me. There would have been no need for sacrifice if man never sinned. The reason the outer court ministry was designed, it was designed as a makeshift arrangement until the Lamb of God himself will eventually come. So that was a makeshift arrangement to provide a covering. That's what we call in theology atonement. To provide a covering for the priest so that he had legal right, or for the people to be able to enter into the presence of God. But originally, when man was created, God could come to man without man performing any rituals. Are you here? Because man existed in a form where his priesthood was acceptable, because he was without corruption. He carried the very essence of God. So there was compatibility between mortality and immortality. Man and God spoke the same language. That language was not just holiness. It was not just sanctification. It was the language, the love language of God, called obedience.